I was in a difficult time in my life, and I wasn't finding happiness in anything. One night, I was out, I was drinking, and I was driving, and I was stopped by a policeman. And I knew the drill. I had been to jail before. I thought I knew what was going to happen. Instead, this policeman, he said, "Joe, let me ask you a question." He said, "Do you know if you were to wrap this automobile around a telephone pole tonight, do you know whether or not you would go to heaven or to hell?" And I said, "Well, to heaven, I hope. I've gone to church off and on all my life." He said, "Joe, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about going to church. I'm talking about, have you ever asked Jesus Christ to come into your heart and to save you and to be your Lord?" He said, "Joe, I'm not going to lock you up tonight. I'm going to let you go. I should lock you up. I'm going to give you a second chance. But I want you to think long and hard about what I asked you." Well, the Holy Spirit began to melt my heart. And they had a crusade for Christ at my high school gymnasium.
I remember my sister went to it, and I remember her coming home and waking me up and telling me how wonderful the crusade was. And she said, lots of people got saved, even Joe Rowell got saved.
Gave my heart to Christ that night and got saved. He changed my life completely.
I was on the drill team, and I went to that party and walked in the house, and there sat Joe Rowell.
There was a room full of people, but she caught my eye. Boy, I was hit. I was smitten, and I went home and told my mama that night, "I think she's might be the one I want to marry." She goes, "Well, Joe?" After Sandra and I had gotten married, there was a number of things that God placed in our lives that were really instrumental. We could just see God at work in everything that we did. I felt led of the Lord to start a Rowell family Stones of Remembrance. As Joshua and the children of Israel crossed the Jordan in the Promised Land, God gave him instructions to gather stones on the riverbank and to set up a memorial to God. Of course, we started with our salvation. That's when our life began. Our salvation and our marriage, and then our kids being born. When I was ordained as a deacon back at a church in Atlanta, and on. There were several things. We began to document them. We wrote a paragraph about each one, and we involved our children in that process. You think that's eligible for a Stone of Remembrance? Dad, is he going to put one in there for that? And we would talk about it, and sometimes we would, and sometimes we'd wait. But we've got about 30 of them now. I lost both my parents in 2006, and between the time I lost my daddy in January and my mama later on that year, we were beginning to feel the tug to get more involved back in the church. We had kind of drifted away as I'd gotten so involved in my business. One of the things that Brother Steve has always talked about is finishing strong. So we drew the line in the sand, and we put a Stone of Remembrance in our bookcase for 2006, awesome August, to set the pace for my family. I feel like I'm still the leader of my family. Even though my kids are grown and gone, I've got grandkids. I need to set an example. I don't want to have any regrets. One blessing I received just a couple weeks ago, AJ, our oldest, our 10-year-old grandson, he came back. He said, "What's a stronghold?" And oh, what a sweet opportunity that was. As I sat there and I had a few minutes of where he asked me, "Tell me about what is a stronghold and what does that mean?" And I was going to tell him about in 2008 how God had helped me overcome a stronghold of fear in my life. I want our kids and grandkids and future generations to know that we were real, we're not perfect, that we make mistakes, and that I can be forgiven, that they can be forgiven. Because Jesus is real in our lives, and He loves us no matter what. I'm Joe Rowell, and that's our Red Chair Story.